Oh boy, welcome back to the Civ Battle Royale. My name is Dawkinzz, and let's get right into part 85? I think that's what it is, part 85, From Ashes to Embers. Before we start, I should, I guess reiterate what we all may or may not know, but Burger Krieg has taken a step down from the project. There's tons of information in his latest video for those who want to keep up to date. Pictured below is a bit of OC that was made right before release that we found apt for the people who have been sticking around. And don't worry, we've provided a hell of a drug. By mixing together 3 parts into 2, we made this part extra thick, for a special reason I won't disclose here. But alas, the reason will be revealed in due time. A good movie needs to build up to the climactic ending, right? But for real though, thank you Burger Krieg for all the efforts you've made through this entire experience. You're the one who inspired me to get into this narration, and I'm glad we've been able to make it together. So we will miss you, and hopefully we'll see you again soon, possibly for Mark 3. But for now, let's get right into it. There's so much to say about this image, but I'll opt to point out what's changed. In North America, the Blackfoot capital of Siskawa gained a few more tiles. Inuit captured the former city of Guadalajara from the Aussie Thunder from down under, and Nassau Canal City was captured by Buccaneers in a surprising comeback. South America witnesses the loss of the Australian city of Concepcion, and a few tiles are exchanged by the hands of a few citadels. Elsewhere, the Finnish lost the city of Nicomedia, Sweden citadeled the former German core, and the Finnish exclave of Koro was swallowed by Mongolia. Aussie also lost their former Japanese island city of Yokohama, and the former Hawaiian city of Mililala. I guess I have to get used to saying all these names again, damn it, it's been like a year. Mililani. But enough of the past. Onwards. Once more, Boer is on the top, and for pretty obvious reasons. I don't think we'll be seeing them drop anytime soon. With a few weak neighbors in Europe and empty land suitable for repopulation of robotic units, we could be seeing Boer Stomp Fest. Or we could be seeing more hover tanks. That also works. The Kimberley artillery settled in a lake of its old home that seems less carpeted than usual. It seems the Australians have made the correct assumption that any enemies will be coming from across the sea. In the notification window, there's some amusing peace declarations between Kimberley and Finland, as well as Sparta and Australia, but the biggest peace declarations is Boers with Finland, as well as Iceland with Finland, which, provided there not being a yellow nation between them, could have resulted in the true unification of Europe. Later, Europe, later. You'll be devastated at some point soon. The once Byzantine capital swaps hands in the aforementioned peace deal, going the way of Iceland, who now I assume is like the Night King. Or is that Inuit? Yeah, never mind, we already have a Game of Thrones reference. Iceland sit on their hoard of capitals like some kind of frosty dragon. And one must wonder what Finland believes he's doing if he's willing to hand over the Byzantine capital so easily to an enemy who borders almost no tiles. Maybe Kekkonen desire cities in far-off continents. Shall we see another Finnish city halt the Vietnam Sibir bloodbath? We in the sub surely hope so. Congratulations, Houston! You now have the ability to build nukes, potentially. Shame you have no tiles that aren't occupied by Hawaiian peacekeepers. Maybe you can move your nukes to your few carriers. I myself would love Texas to nuke and capture their former capital in the Maori-esque blitz of glory. In other news, it seems like Inuit and Blackfoot are friends. Thank you. As Inuit units march towards newly acquired soil, you should count your graces, Crowfoot, and we do, because the Blackfoot and the Inuit are forever friends. Sibir is looking mighty sparse, but it seems like Vietnam is as well. The Vietnamese meat grinder has taken a toll out of both of them. I know, for the sake of the game's longevity, that a peace declaration now would be well, but look on the bright side. The Ashanti pikemen now have their places to roam. Now just don't get too close to Tobolsk. Tobolsk? How do you... Else ye will meet the end like the Roman legion. No, they're there somewhere. They're just hidden. Well, I might have been a bit wrong in assuming back in the day that they'll be pumping out more giant death robots, because it seems that the frontline units are consisting entirely of anti-air guns and a few robotic future world units. As a fighting force, I'm thinking that Sibir can hold and just hold it in their arms like a swaddled baby, Bombda, but it'll be a lot of flipping and burnt away units that neither side has plenty of. Koro is in Mongolian control and there seems to be a lot more space for everyone to expand. Get units and get them now, Mongolia, or you'll massively regret it should Korea get their act together. Although they might be on a vacation in Korean lands, this actually proves that. This means good for Mongolia. They have eliminated their only real threat and Sibir is getting weaker by the moment. Act suddenly and they might be able to capture some northern cities. This could be the only environment where Mongolia becomes somewhat of a superpower. Weird. And it comes from the relative lackadaisical, is that a word? Lackadaisical? I'll accept it. Attitude of Korea to their east. Maybe Yakutia has drugged their soil with apathy dust, causing Korea to lull into a nice slumber. Just don't keep a fan on during that time. Ha, Korean joke. In other news, Mongolia seems to want to pick a fight with Finland, as has been the tradition with exclaves lately. With only 4 exclaves remaining, Kekkonen's strategy of tossing units at the weak ones might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Oh Japan, will you ever get a break? After a swift recapture of Yokohama by Australia, it seems like the front has shifted to Wakama, but without any ranged units, it's a fruitless effort. Oh, there's some stray Kimberley units reminiscing over the anime that could have been. It's amazing if you think about this, but Korea doesn't have a single naval melee unit. Theoretically, if someone attacked Osaka right now, they wouldn't have much to defend other than a random melee unit, but hey, they've done more extreme in the past. I wonder where those units are going. If we're judging this part, then perhaps towards Finland, as it's all the rage to pick on them. Interesting fact, you can see how odd the cities have generated borders. In testing, we found that the game wasn't capable of assigning tiles to each city, so we had to manually expand borders city by city with the in-game editor. Geez, thank you guys for all the tedious work this must have been. This resulting in some odd-looking formation within ocean tiles, thus this funny image. Another interesting fact, Kahuli, or Kahlua, I'm pretty thirsty, is completely blockaded as a result of the capture. Quite a silly outcome, but as flips and city holdings go on these shores, this should get less extreme. Oh well, it looks pretty funny regardless. Oh wait, there's some stuff here, but nothing major. I expect Australia to reclaim Hilo within the turn, as Australia has enough melee units to deal with any invasion. Still, doesn't make the move of the Inuit any less annoying. Oh damn. In a surprising show of competence, the Buccaneers actually forced their way back onto the continent with a recapture of Huamanga. God damn. While it might not be much, the fact that the Buccaneers so shortly after near death can capture beyond the canal is a humongous sign of life. Ha 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 ha. From the once written off naval nation. Huh? Interesting war declarations all abound. Many people hate Tibet, but unless they land in Vietnamese territory and fight through the Canyons of Freedom, TM, it's unlikely that they'll make any impact. If Finland had their XCOM army up, though, they would definitely make a huge dent with Kekkonen's superior unit positioning tactics. But they're a little busy right now being the piñata for every other powerful nation in Europe. Well, I guess they just did declare peace, so not really. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'll ask another time. Bye. Many small things to note here. A Persian privateer actually making it here, meaning it had to go around Africa to do so. Good job, Persia, in doing so. Your parents must be so proud. Speaking of proud, as a proud Canadian, not me, Lunar Needle, who has been doing the narration for this part, I guess I failed to mention that earlier on, but I love seeing my maple syrup cannons to the north of Portobello. If only there was a damage on these cities. We could be seeing the potential revival of Canada, which would be hype. Again, another time, another place, another reality, because it's not happening. I would think that every Armenian supporter is wiping their brow nervously looking at this slide. Seeing Yerevan, Bukhara, and Gaza all in red must mean danger for Armenia. We could be seeing some sweet Finnish gains here if Finland can perform a miracle. Fingers crossed for some sweet gains, Kekkonen. Learn a thing or two from the Spartans and get those gains. Now, in a world without gains, the war grinds on. I honestly had to check that this wasn't the last turn. It seems like Sibir is willing to commit on this front, which, if successful, could weaken Vietnam. If unsuccessful, however, it could mean losses on all other fronts. This fight is actually quite important for the war effort. I, for one, hope that there's little casualties, as these nations both need to bulk up before their more plump neighbors strike where it's weak. Honestly, no. I affirm what I said. Mongolia could actually make gains against either Sibir or Korea. There's no units or even air force nearby and tons of workers in both. These armies are almost all capable of fighting and there's less helicopters than ever. Could Mongolia become a superpower? Let's hope so. Vietnam is actually looking pretty mighty here, and with seemingly randomly chosen puppeted cities. I think Trunk Sisters puppet the cities by chance. Perhaps they're choosing what cities to puppet from a reverse CBR in their world, and which cities which are defeated get puppeted. Explains why Bago at 21 pop is puppeted, while Fujian-hee, I am hoping I got that one, at 11 population is not. The Vietnamese competitor's navy is quite fearsome. We hope the changes to the carrier bias will help strengthen the navy soon. Also, look at how much city defense Kapiti has. Holy Sue, that's a lot. Australia's less than defended side. If it wasn't for the Blackfoot existing in the middle, these cities would be toast. But for now, they'll remain blockaded and alone and scared. Australia has no good options to attack now, and they need to act soon, else their colonies in the Asian and American theater will be under attack. Parks, you're on limited time, buddy. Port-au-Prince welcomes its makers once more in open arms, as it seems like Australia makes their peace with being off this continent. This continental battle has whittled down the Great Pacific Garbage Patch into a mildly formidable navy and diggers. It seems that while there's being sick gains on the Mexican coast, the Buccaneer coast is beyond lacking. The cities also look much less full of population than I remember. The mass famine must be finally catching up stateside. Rio de Janeiro, in the meantime, seems to be thriving with an actual land army and a wall of useless carriers sprinkled about. They can easily carpet and move their armies about and yet easily defend against any foe, but they shouldn't get too confident. It seems like Brazil might take a while to find their footing as a superpower with no one but the Bucks to their north. The aforementioned Great Famine is impacting all former metropoli who refuse to adopt the tiles of their neighbors, which will suffer intense starvation. While it might not be a while until Sydney reaches a lower population, the lack of tiles also harms their production as well. We hope nearby cities will make up for Sydney's production weakness. Also, they're making a national college in their capital, a smart investment, considering every city in Mark 2.1 starts with a library, barracks, and most national wonder building requirements. Oh dear, Pretoria, please. It seems they have opted to sacrifice population in the wave of automation within the Boer capital. Still, despite that, they have a small production bonus. Burning away their unemployed citizens might be best, but I think the unemployment problem should be counteracted by more and more tiles being acquired nearby. Alas, first place world problems. They are making VR training centers, so that might be problematic if it shows their militaristic hand. Probably just turtling like usual though, right? Ivavik, the Inuit capital, looks amazing architecturally but also suffers from the Great Famine. Cargo ships abound to keep afloat. Just how bad is this famine, really? Very bad, in fact. It might be the worst case of starvation ever. We're seeing population numbers fall around the board. 840 million citizens in the Boer Empire dropped to 579 million in only 6 turns. The Inuit saw 511 million people drop to 342 million in the same time span. Even Finland dropped from 68 million to 44. As the AIs relearn how to move tiles around, this might be mitigated. Production was barely affected though, 7,830 to 7,754 for the Boer, 6,550 to 7,078 for the Inuit, so they get a gain. And the Finnish also get a gain from 1286 to 1438. So there will be just as much units as ever, just much less people to fill their ranks, which makes sense with the inevitable singularity where robots just, I guess, consume the living. Vietnam don't care. Their leaders are quite knowledgeable about city expansion and have chosen the select few tiles wisely to match the population. Although it only slowed the death of their people as from turn 1 to turn 6, Vietnam lost 33 million of its 180 million people, a far cry from over the 200 million lost on the Boer side. We hope Hanoi's success continues the Vietnamese success as they fight the never-ending war with Sibir. Sibir continues the slow ascent to greatness, although with low amounts of food tiles, it seems that there might be less and less population growth with each coming turn. Oh no! Rimsin II has uncovered potentially dastardly deeds, which, considering how early the game is since the restart, holds more water than it did in the original inception. Blackfoot supporters should hold their chair and brace, should the Inuit use its new military wisely. Definitely not as important, but Olangapo has no doubt aided in the success of the Blackfoot by providing science to the entire empire. We only hope this notification means little for the small island city. Oh, that's actually quite upsetting. Making sneak strikes as Boer is unlikely. It seems like the only nation that could actually surprise would be a naval empire like Sri Lanka, Vietnam, or Sparta. These warnings generally mean little, but considering this turn, it might hold fruit. For those waiting and wanting a long game, hope against it. But for those wanting blood, cheer and chant. Pick your side. The Boer Empire is actually quite sparse. If they want to attack, they'll need more units. Unless their special worker has combat strength, it seems they'll need to summon more units than ever to maintain that front. Who would have guessed that Iceland would be able to actually own Constantinople, not Istanbul? Finland must be quite scared considering the army stationed around Tigran unless Vietnam is commencing the attack on the former Byzantine capital, and judging from the movements, they seem fairly likely to do so. Who knows with Civ AI though? Who knows? The war on Bamda seems to be going the way of Vietnam as Sibir's defense on Bamda evaporates. It might be time to get worried, Sibir fans. There are Sibir fans, right? Khan, you amazing man, you've managed to somehow turn into a mild superpower. Not only have they purged some exclaves from Finland, they now have military advantage in sheer unit count over Korea. You might think that's not correct from the total military strength, but Korea's strength is entirely in the ocean. They can easily pluck Tiflis, some border cities, and hold them with the impressive amount of cavalry units. Come on, we want blood, baby. Frustrating literally everyone, Brazil's force just disappeared. Maybe they don't want to hold the city in the middle of the Arctic with no value, or maybe they don't value the honor of finishing off a civ. You know, Sibir, just one melee unit is all it'll need. Australian cities view the vintage wooden boats floating near them. They know they're in no threat of being taken, so they merely lounge back and relax in the beautiful below freezing weather. Perfect time of year. It'd be even better with some future world improvements here. Look at Iceland, maybe they'll give you some tips. Alas, Brazil has one thing to enjoy, and that is an Aussie-free continent. Honestly, Australia was glad to get what they got, but their green clashed with the Brazilians' superior green shading. Maybe in a future war, this will change the tide of the world, but considering both has depleted military consisting mostly of carriers, expect that not to change anytime soon. Removing Buccaneers is once more annoying considering the Hugamongas, hate me yet, god damn it, cities by the never defeated Buccaneers. Could they reclaim Tulum once more from the Aussies? It's anyone's game, honestly, but I expect no one to take it with their available units. Produce naval melee units, folks. Simple stuff. While Ujmal remains in easy capturing range from Aussie, it seems like Inuit forces might make the Central American core a violent one indeed. Port-au-Prince and most Buccaneer cities seem fine. Wait, is that a newly produced battleship? Has the bias patch finally helped naval nations? We'll keep looking for stationed melee naval units in the future. It seems like that's all they actually care about, as there's no units of Aussie in sight. We might be seeing Territorial flip to the Inuit should this continue. Come on, Blackfoot, now's the time. Strike while the iron's hot. Oh, Ekanik, always picking on empires smaller than you. However, with a light hover, we can actually see how beautiful this nation is to live in. Honestly, I've been personally wanting to vacation in Sweden, Finland for a long time, and if they remain as beautiful as this, I know I'll enjoy myself. Keep on keeping on, as I always say. Just hope the Inuit don't unlodge the pain train of naval units from the Canadian North and send it your way. The Ashanti pikeman views the military exercise in the once Polish home of Warsaw. It seems like they're pointing their guns directly at Finland, but that's pretty unlikely considering the symbol of peace everywhere the Ashanti pikeman is within. Maybe they're waiting for him to embark once more in his epic quest. It seems just as empty here, but I have to once more appreciate the beauty of the texture packs. The added colors really help, although some may not like it. Pretty sparse, as it seems right now. It seems like they're moving a small amount of carriers here, but I doubt we'll see bloodshed here any day soon. While it seems like Vietnam is pretty occupied, the amount of units that have perished in these parts from the failed siege of Yerushalayim, no doubt hurt the military might they once possessed, or do possess. Indeed, they could easily be on death row. I wouldn't say to prepare your F key just yet, but give it a good long look and see if pressing it will be in your future. What? It seems that units have come in to defend Bomda and have crushed the Vietnamese offense. Bomda has lost some health, but considering the nearby plane most likely bearing down on it, it does seem that none of that was induced by any units. Should the AI take advantage of the nearby mountain, it could potentially completely siege Bomda and take it for themselves. Honestly, I wouldn't count it out ever, as AI does mysterious things. Actually, I take back my original claim. It seems like Turfan will remain for a while, as majority of the Mongolian military seems to be more interested in taking a long vacation, letting the limited units of Finland cut through the ranks of Mongolia. This might go the way of the Mongolian horde, but damages to the army might mean any planned invasions of Korea won't happen anytime soon. Such a shame. And this is the reason. If the Inuit or Mongolia were to strike, it'd be amazing right now. Although judging from the max HP units in the cities, it seems like Korea has gotten the bulletin posted on the fridge that says, "Produce more units." Glad to see it, and unless Vietnam attacks, Korea will have the opportunity to fully carp it up. A luxury that Finland and Sweden wish they could have. Less than 50 slides ago, I was talking about how Yokohama went the way of the Inuit, and now they burnt through their navy and lost both Yokohama and Mililani-Muoaka, as the former offensive army finds themselves quickly without a home. The captains of the arsenal ships just sigh and turn their craft southeast, preparing to go to their newly acquired Hawaiian land base. "Men, this isn't Dallas anymore," speaks an amazed and bewildered admiral, adjusting his glasses as he looks through the occupied waters. The men, uncertain how to use their new vessel, turn east, moving through the platoons of carriers while army transport corps move by. The creaking of the untested metal becomes the ambiance before a nervous sailor looks up to their leader. "How did we even get here? Before he could even finish speaking, the admiral tosses his bourbon to the ground. "Go east. We arrive to Nassau in a fortnight. No more questions." He looked down to his shipwrights, turning around and returning to his quarters. "Geez, what got Admiral Pachacuti's nerves?" said one shipwright, only receiving some quiet mumbled replies, letting the creaking metal become ambiance once more. Speaking of creaking ambiance, Iceland looks on with old rickety ships most likely from an ancient era, as the Inuit potentially ponder pressing the big red button on a one-tile island of Bunbury. Despite being at war, Inuit they don't take much damage from moving next to an Australian city with nuclear arms. Perhaps a third ship accompanied them. Their life will be remembered. Territorial seems to be slightly worried about the amount of nukes, but it seems that Inuit fans will be more worried considering the amount of nukes that could be submerged in salty waters. If you're going to drop the Air Force, at least drop a flurry of fire down on Territorial for us observers to see. The battle down here is a bit more violent. It seems that any opportunity for Blackfoot to fight a non-Inuit threat have dwindled to zero unless they strike Australia now. They have to rely on good graces with the Inuit to remain relevant. Well, the Buccaneers have cleaned up nicely. Put the drunkard in a suit and paint Central America a nice shade of black and white, and he's ready for the ball. And by ball, I mean ball of death and destruction. Unfortunately, much like the Blackfoot, they've already run out of weak opponents. They need to bulk up and fast if they desire to stay in this game. Tulum is getting the hug of death, but it seems like no one here is capable of capturing it. It's not even that amazing of a city and isn't easily defensible by the Buccaneers. They should let the bloodshed here be entirely of Brazil's and focus on bulking up, but alas, they're here in a stalemate. Plus, even if they lose it, they have a nice ring of black surrounding the islands. Consider it a pirate hug. Yep, Mongolia can't war. I went from hyping Mongolia to just being a dejected father. Mongolia, you need to actually commit, and with a sizable chunk. There's no air force. Yet again, you opted to initiate a peace agreement with Finland. keep on being you, Genghis, because that's all you got. In other news, you might notice that the turn is one above our usual limit. On my suggestion alone, I've opted to merge 2 recorded parts into one. Why, you may ask, but alas, this is just a gift I'm giving to you. Got your popcorn? Got your soda? Got your healthy item of choice? Lean in and relax, subdweller. Thankfully, Inuit's forces don't seem too large here, but you need to be careful, as if they do declare, you should be seeing the hot islands down here become a beautiful shade of light blue. You see, I'm divided here. On one end, we really want superpowers to rival the Boers, and yet on the other end, we don't want a beloved nation to sink to the bottom of the sea. I'm more focused on the former though, as I believe right now Boers are in an unsaleable position, and all it takes is a war declaration on pretty much anyone to secure them this game. If anyone wants to defeat them, they need to be unanimous and swift. The sisters realized that Tiamin was acting as a gateway for Sibir and won't be having any of that, potentially planning to pluck not only Tiamin but also Hrazdan, a famous city flip to cause this war to stagnate. Indeed, it might have been the case that Vietnam could be competing if it wasn't for this famous city flip by Sir Kek himself. In fact, they seem to be currying loads of bad omens with major superpowers lately. Let's hope they don't get denounced like Tibet, as unlike them, denouncements could mean serious war. This front, however, seems to be quite volatile. Remember that Mark 2.1 isn't perfect and minor relationship values couldn't be replicated without a major delay, so this front could become deadly for anyone. The paratrooping paraders ponders a potentially petty, potent push from pretty pissed previous partners. Fuck you, man. Alright, I'll stop, but for realsies, I could see Helsinki flipping in one turn from a competent human player, if not 2 turns. Dangerous times indeed. A bit southward on the globe, we notice some things odd, namely the offensive great artist making a beautiful picture as Yerevan remains coated in flames. It seems likely any burning Armenian city will flip here unless urged by Vietnam. You can keep partying Armenia for a living this long. The defense around Jerusalem has evaporated, however, but it seems likely to flip any day soon, such as the fate of anyone who settles near the Middle East. Alrighty, pikemen. You're like the second most loved Astrayed unit. Please don't get too close to the war fronts. Yeah, I understand they're pretty much everywhere, but still move up, please. Kashlik seems nicer. There's even a Babylonian spy. Maybe you'll be able to sneak on board and come hang out with us. Come on and get away from there. On other news, it seems like Nishapur, which was once Vietnamese some parts ago, is comfortably in the hands of Sibir, but it seems like Trung doesn't want that to remain. It seems likely to be in Vietnamese hands sometime soon. Refugee Embassy seems to be well defended this time around, but it seems like they need to abandon here and just let it be swallowed up. It's unlikely to remain in their hands for too long. Any skilled Sri Lankan player could easily negotiate passage through Vietnamese lands and bear down on the city, but with the only coast tile being occupied, it'll take some bloodshed. This city should just assimilate to Vietnam. Hashtag refugee freedom. Despite the lack of units, it seems like the Inuit can also take a chunk out of Korea. A proper two-way war with Mongolia could... actually, never mind. I'm getting tired of getting my hopes up for Genghis. Anyways, Inuit could serve to assimilate some cities this part into its core and use its surprisingly sizable navy in this part alongside its competent and mobile future world units to make some serious gains. If you want to take out Australian Japan, you need a large amount of melee units, something that should be pretty obvious to any actual player of the game. Ranged units lose purpose after a wide air force is assembled and only serve to thin out the ranks of melee units attacking you. A ranged force with no melee units is useless, and they made the mistake here, only damaging Tokyo and Wakayama in the process, and lose Mililani Muaka in the process as well. Amusing thing to note, somehow Mongolia has a power armor unit just relaxing here while they declare peace elsewhere. The power of open border agreements failing amuses me greatly. About going back to Hawaii? Yeah, don't do that. You lost out on all of your ocean holdings by Australia, who has mastered the city. Most of these units are also promoted in quite a numerous amount of ways, and yet completely fall apart. There was no way to succeed here too, unless more paratroopers occupy the non-one tile islands, but without a stream of melee ships here, again, nothing will happen. Hell, it's possible Blackfoot can make some sick gains here if they attack very soon. Please, come on, guys. Probably not, but with the Australians occupied, they can take these islands as well as take the stray Australian-American cities for themselves. Come on, guys. You have many carriers that can distract the AI, enough paratroopers to do the job, and you can fill out your invasion bingo card of defeating a nation, kicking a nation off your continent, surviving near a major power, and building tons of unnecessary carriers. The prize and the land are there waiting for you, Crowfoot. Take it. The Bucks, despite having many cities in immense pain, seem to be making even more gains with an amazing usage of their units. They have human player levels of knowledge over this game. I honestly wonder what makes them so good. I think it has something to do with the fact that they always have limited amounts of units, so no turn goes wasted. A talented army only needs one line and air force. Remember when these guys were a write-off?
Regent Malak, while you've sent your men off towards Habrad, it seems that a superior foe has taken Devin. The Empire is over, my lord.
You wondered why I extended it. Well, we couldn't be having a part end without a few microphone drops. As if acting as one, Sweden and the Boer strike down much weaker powers, bringing the Finnish Empire to its knees. It's alright, Malak, you'll be much better as a Boer unit. Do robots need to do squats? That's not enough proof, you say? Well, let's show you the odds. Boers have easily the #1 position in the globe from the Zulu forward settle, Congo extinction, Ashanti dismissal, Ethiopian bloodshed, and Buccaneer purging from parts ago. They've turtled and created an empire to be proud of, and despite losing one of the most powerful wonders in the game, they remain the most powerful nation by far. Meanwhile,
we've lost one city and easily remain at the bottom of all but happiness. Our treasury is bleeding rapidly and we're losing our men at a rapid rate. I'm sorry, sir, but it seems our time on this world is over.
Role-playing aside, we're already seeing units smashing on the borders of Gdansk and Givlaska. The sizable navy of Sweden clashing against the remaining Finnish resistance. This war seems decisive on water, but how does land fare? There's many numbers here, but I want to focus on some of the main ones. 443,000 active troops here, with 4.7 million square kilometers of land-water area owned. While not unassailable, they are doing fine for themselves. But it's not entirely over. With over half of the military in almost identical land area, it seems pretty tight for Kekkonen, who has been doing pretty well so far. It seems that there's likely to be great bloodshed here in the future, though. This won't be impossible, just extremely tough. Retreat from your exclaves as the war comes home, Uro Kekkonen. Kekkonen has realized this and has pieced out with Armenia, Sri Lanka, and Sparta, most likely giving some money away in the process. It's time to move your planes home and accept that this will be a tough battle. Down on the southern front, it seems pretty hard as Ohrid bombs down on Adrianople. A few units approach the front, but they can only flip the city once by water. The ranged naval units have no use in this battle unless Vietnam strikes, and considering they're moving north, this might be likely. Brace for impact, Finnish fans. Armenia got out of this too, and good, considering it seems likely that the units produced in nearby Yerevan were going for the capital. The artist is so proud. He runs towards Finnish soldiers, desiring one moment of peace between the once warring nations. Such idealists they are. In non-war diplomatic news, historical landmarks were passed, benefiting many civs all over the world with increased culture gains, especially those with high amounts of great works like those in Europe. This will give major boosts to Sweden as they march to Finland, granting them roughly 30 additional culture per turn. Boers do see benefits, but in much less of a quantity overall, having chosen to instead focus on future world improvements. In less diplomatic news, it seems like Agent M has uncovered a plot between former rivals with Kimberly, nearby looking on in horror. It doesn't seem like they are on any good standing either, so this might hold even more truth than others. Oh boy, with Wrocław's citizens glad it's not on the coast, it seems like the naval power is going right to Helsinki. Iceland also seemed to have disappeared from these slides moments ago. While this war is dramatic, if Iceland did attack, they might be able to sweep over a swept-through land in a very Iceland-esque fashion. Opportunities here for you, Iceland, you just have to make them, but I'm getting ahead of myself. It seems like there's a non-Ashanti pikeman in this slide, just viewing the carnage for themselves. I'm uncertain who is controlling them, but they're in dangerous land. One exchanged nuke could spell the end for the poor unit.
Dangerous times, Finland fans. Instead of detailing the chaos, it might be better to describe all that's happening. Adrianople took severe damage with a unit in range for capture. Poznan seems likely to fall as well, with people closing in on Wroclaw from all directions. Yeah, I looked up the pronunciation. Citizens are being unpuppeted just as fast as they're taking damage, so it seems like Finland is in this 100%. The army doesn't seem impossible, but that land army build is deadly. All melee units with a small air force for damage. If this bias remains true, I'd be happy losing Finland for a more powerful Europe. We all want a true Europe strong, don't we? And if a few people have to die for that to happen, oh well. Alright, I've trashed on Sibir for a long time, but once more the lower amount of units seems to benefit the AI, as they're taking good usage of them and weakening the key units. It seems like Sibir always can manage these hordes well. Maybe the Attila taught him some secrets in hiding. Mongolia, take notes. Alrighty, I don't know how it happened, but you didn't act soon enough. These lands could have been yours, and instead you're witnessing as the Aussies form a counter-attack. I honestly love how things like this can happen from nowhere, considering the string of defeats the Aussies delivered to them earlier. They both seem determined to strike down on the Australian menace. Again with the surprising snipe of Thrapney. I didn't look that one up, I hope it's good. I don't even know how that happened, but I don't see a melee unit in range. Maybe the Bucks accepted that it wouldn't be theirs and focused on keeping their melee units alive. Hopefully we see more carpeting in the future. Worst of both worlds. Not only has Tulum gone the way of Brazil, but the losing of Thrapney means they lose the ability to hug Tulum. Quite a loss indeed. But for real, this sucks in many ways, as it isolates Buccaneer forces from the mainland. Nassau Canal City means little if you cannot move through Inuit or Brazilian waters, two nations that want you deader than Divin. Too soon? Alas, we're at the info attic slides, and we can see some interesting numbers. Sweden triumphs over Finland, Sibir does surprisingly well for the location they are in, and the top contenders run away with it. Vietnam has suffered from minor starvation compared to the others, but it shouldn't be too bad, right? Again, not much to say here, as the people are at the bottom. Kind of disappointed to see Bucks here, but that's how the cookie crumbles. Without Divin, the food amount in Sparta has fallen greatly. Hover your F keys, folks, but not too long. That'll cause some wrist-related injury, and I don't want to be liable, so think about hovering. That'll do. Those who were on the top remain on the top. Buccaneers peek in, while Inuits surprisingly catch up to the Boers with their few captured. I wonder who has more cities. Sparta, son, you're 2 away from Tibet. 2. Welcome to the table of the rump. You may sit on it for a turn or two. We'll welcome you to the sub shortly. Oh boy, open borders. I'll use this slide to actually thank everyone for all of the compliments. Seriously, it touches my depressed, tired heart to hear all of the thanks for us. Truthfully, it's been a journey, and we thank you for sticking with us the past year and through the last part. We hope to not only retain you, but bring the sub back to life. In the past 20 days, we've gained more unique viewers than the MK3 had during its hype. While we're not at MK2 numbers, it's still rather impressive, if I do say so myself. As much as I want to show you the bloodbath of the ages, that'll come next time on the Civ Battle Royale. Till then, this has been Lunar Needle, and this has been Dawkinzz doing the audio narration. It's been very good to be back. Once again, I want to thank the whole Blue Cassette team for putting this back together. TPangolin for inspiring all of us with his work in the beginning. Burger Krieg for all the audio narration that he's done in the past, and really appreciate that and wish him the best. And yeah, I really like having this hyper masculine voice because I have a cold. It might not be there next time, but oh well. Anyway, thanks for joining us. My name is Dawkinzz, and we'll see you next time.